We are going to start with introductions. First and foremost, my name is Sharon King. I am the founder and executive director of the Litty Ligo Awareness Network. Litty Ligo is an organization that focuses on helping people that live with vitiligo and other skin particularities live their life fully and not feel chained to their skin and their conditions. We have an awareness group on Facebook that has about 2,200 people in there, family. And, we like to keep the conversations open and honest. We do campaigns and things like that, just anything that can help someone who needs help. We believe that everybody heals in their own way. So we are kind of like a conduit more than a support group. So Litty Ligo has been alive for about 3 years now, and we have spread globally. So I am very, very happy and excited. The SpeakEasy is usually a physical event, but due to the pandemic, we have been forced online. I am going to start with Candace. Candace, can you tell us a little about yourself?
Hello, everyone. My name is Candace Bass. I am the Dean of Students at Community Charter School of Cambridge. Before that, I taught for about 7 to 8 years at a local charter school here in Boston. I've always been an advocate when it comes to education. It's been instilled in me since I was born by my mother. Unfortunately, she passed away a year and a half ago from lung cancer. But she's always instilled in me that education is kind of a way to the power. And I always believe that the people who are closest to the pain should be closest to the power. That's me.
Next, I would like to introduce Mr. Odell Ruffin. He is stepping in for Joshua James who had a last minute emergency. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Peace and flourish. My name is Odell Ofats Ruffin. I'm a musician, visual artist, and an educator. Born and raised in Boston, JP, Dorchester, Roxbury. And outside of now that I work in education, outside of that, I've always in some fashion or form educated with music. It wasn't until about, I would say 5 years ago, 6 years ago, I found myself working in, working in group homes. And the next thing I know, I liked it, I enjoyed it. And it rolled into me working in schools. And shout out to Miss Lights, Dr. Lights. She was someone, Dr. Lights, peace and flourish. She was someone who also gave me an opportunity in my journey these last few years in education. And I was once at DLA real quick, so shouts out to the Panthers over there. And so as I've done that, it's always been like a balance of visual arts, music, and then educating. And I would like to say what I call common sense in life. You know what I'm saying? So that's me. It's what I do, mostly coming from a music background. And peace and flourish.
Thank you so much. I did invite Odell last minute, but I'm very happy that he's here as a security paraprofessional. He works, like he said, he's with the kids, he's on the ground with the kids, and that's a different perspective. And thank you so much for stepping in. I really do appreciate you. Kalika in New Jersey.
Hey guys, Kalika Glover, born and raised in Boston, moved to New Jersey 2009, about 2 months after my dad passed, change of scenery. I knew I wanted to be a teacher since I was 7. 2 things I really wanted, which sounds crazy, was to be a teacher and a mother. I had the teacher thing down pat by the time I was 30. No, I'm not in my 20s. So yeah, I have a 6-year-old now, so I'm doing the whole mother thing, teacher thing. I teach 3rd grade, ELA, and I am in the heart of Newark, New Jersey. And this is quite a time to be alive right now. This is different. I've been teaching for 11 years, so this is definitely the craziest year by far. But yeah,
Imagine.
that's me.
Thank you so much. And last but not least, Dr. Tia Lights.
Hello, everybody. So my name is Tia. Everybody calls me TT, but I am Dr. Tia Lights. I am a proud, so before the doctorate thing, I was a proud HBCU graduate. Shout out to Johnson C. Smith University, Charlotte, North Carolina, 2005. But I did most recently complete my doctorate from Northeastern University, specializing in culturally responsive school leadership framework. And so my research was on how effective historically Black educators and Black school leaders have impacted the positive outcomes of Black students. So I'm very, very passionate based on my HBCU experience on the journey of Black and Brown students. I'm currently the assistant principal and director of teaching and learning at Helen Y. Davis Leadership Academy. Shout out to my school, the #1 based charter, culturally based charter middle school in Boston. So I'm very proud of that. I'm proud of our HBCU foundation that we have at the Academy. I'm just looking to be great for my kids and my students, because I don't have any children yet, but my kids in my school, be my best self for them and really try to give them examples of who they can be. So shout out to everybody on the call. And I hope that we just really make it a resource for you going further. Ashe is what I like to say.
I was waiting for the ashe. So let us get into the meat and potatoes. So our first topic, we are going to be talking about balancing work and home life, especially now since work and home life are one and the same. Teachers who have to kind of school all day and then you bring your work home as well. How do you manage that? What advice do you kind of have for us who are very new to this?
I'll start off. I'm gonna flip hats. As a teacher and a mom, I will say in no way, shape, or form do we as teachers expect kids to be behind a screen all day. It's literally ridiculous to even expect an adult to do that. I know for me and for my school, we have office hours. So basically we are set to our regular school schedule. So from 8:20 to 3:05, I'm available. Not saying that I'm behind my computer the whole time, but if you message me or my kids message me, then I'm there. But I'm also that type of teacher that if you message me after hours, I'm probably gonna answer you. But the whole thing is as a parent, you know your kids, you know how much time they can spend doing something before they're burnt out and they need a break. There is no set schedule for all kids. My daughter, I think it takes her maybe like a little less than an hour to do all of her work because it's different subjects, but she takes breaks in between. You want to go play Fortnite for 10, 15 minutes? Cool. Come back, finish your work. But I know, speaking from a parent, it's literally, you know your household, you know what you need to do, especially for parents that have multiple kids that need to use maybe the same device, or they take turns, or you got to set up your schedule that works for you.
I can talk being just a resource and an ally to parents and teachers at my school. I think sometimes, a lot of people in education think that a school administrator is supposed to keep this rigid, face on, but no. I'm super realistic with the expectations of this new normal and that everybody has a life. So my biggest piece of advice when I'm sitting in on team meetings is to tell the teachers, be kind to yourself. The same way to the parents, be kind to yourself. Set up a realistic schedule that works for you. I know my school, we send out a schedule that covers from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. 2 solid hours of content, but within that, there's 2 enrichment blocks. How about you spread those enrichment blocks out and do something that's, inclusive of your family, or inclusive of your time, or inclusive of reading with your child, or something that makes you feel good within the home, or exercising with your student. So I think that the balance comes with finding your normalcy within your home, and then putting the pieces of the online learning into it, because you are a house and a family first. So I always want to say, be realistic and be kind to yourself in terms of switching to this new normal.
Yeah, I definitely would say what I've heard from both thus far is truth, and I echo those statements and sentiments. The difference is I don't have any children myself either. So for me, there was definitely an adjustment period because I'm a hands-on, we're all hands-on with the seeds every day. So it's like that adjustment from switching from the physical every day, seeing one another, having those team meetings and having those like same students that you say hello to, or you have your moments of dap or whatever it is. Those changes are definitely like, oh man, this is different. So now that you're at home and you have to use this computer, which I use, but it's like, now I'm home. So how do you adjust to that? Okay, like has been said, you have to make this schedule and you have to do the same thing that you did at work. So for me, it was like taking this schedule at work and readjusting it and shaping it out based on how I can operate and vibe out. And so, and then it is true, you do have to big yourself up and remind yourself, like, nobody's built like you, you design yourself. So.
Can I add something to what everyone was saying?
Yes, please, Candace.
So, hi guys. So I think the biggest thing that teachers and educators and people in leadership need to realize is that we know these children in and out academically, but the families know them holistically. So at the end of the day, it's very, very important that we're able to take a step back as people who are in school and education and really be humble and not just focus on academics or upcoming test scores for next year. Just call to ask if our families, and not not our children, of course they're important, but I'm talking about their like sources. So our parents don't necessarily want to hear about, office hours or, things that are due on Google Classroom. Sometimes they just want to know that the person who's been around their children more than they have, essentially, is just checking up on them. You know what I mean? It's just asking if they need anything, if they, want to talk. And I feel like sometimes that gets lost because a lot of the schools that I've worked for are very, very academically heavily based. It's no excuses. And right now, this is a different time. So we need to meet our families where they are.
Right. I absolutely agree with that. And it's also being aware of people's culture. You don't necessarily have to practice and do what everyone else is doing, but as an educator, I feel like you should be aware of it. You should know, everybody doesn't have the same home life, everybody doesn't have the same experiences. And the way that certain people do things at home, it doesn't make it incorrect. It just makes it different. People are different. But yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. All right. Maintaining a schedule. So me personally, we got a whiteboard with a whole, we got 4 whiteboards in this. I'm actually looking at 4 different whiteboards, one for working out, one for running, one for school. And we probably do, independently, he's pretty good. My son's 11. I have a son, he's 11 years old. His name is Litty.
You got 11-year-old son? That's crazy.
He's gonna be 12 next month. He goes to Roxbury Prep, so I couldn't say Woo Panthers because I'd definitely get a side eye because he is Scooby woman on my baby school. He don't like that very much. But yeah, so maintaining a schedule for me personally, I have trouble letting him be independent and not being too hands-on. I don't want my son to get too used to always having directions, always having somebody telling him how to do things, because he'll go into situations like, okay, what do I do? Rather than saying, okay, how can I figure this out? Right. So going back to schedule, you have tips and tricks for maintaining schedules at home and just help.
I think, well, first of all, I'm for all schools. Thank you, Sharon. Okay. But do I love my school? Yes. But anyway, the question at hand, I think you should maintain a realistic schedule. I have been seeing these schedules that are being sent home. They are compiled with all of these things. Thank you, Kalika. All of these things, all of these resources, all of these things, email after email after email. You know, I know even my teachers are responsible for sending out a weekly parent email with the schedule, with this, you know, and I can feel as also a human being with a mother who is an educator, you know, wow, overwhelming. So I say, you know, keep a realistic schedule. And like I said, if you get 2 strong, good hours, whatever time of day that fits into your household schedule, I think that that's productive. Also, if parents get a time to look through their students, whatever is sent from the teacher ahead of time, you can look through the material and figure out ways to make the learning kind of come to life so that it fits into your schedule. So let's say the lesson is about, I don't know, money math, and you guys have to go to the bank. You know, you're getting your mask on and doing a thing for the, incorporate that little money math into your daily schedule to kind of create some normalcy, just a little, you know, a helpful tool. And once again, I do not think that families should be getting overwhelmed or over-consumed with the expectations of a schedule, because it's not fair to the families. And it's like not fair to the teachers as well, you know, because then the family gets overwhelmed, they're flooding the teachers with these emails, the teacher gets overwhelmed. So it's kind of like a give and take. Be realistic about the expectation of the schedule and be realistic to your household.
I want to echo that. Please. Oh, Kalika, you ready to roll?
You could go ahead. I'll go after you.
All right, peace and flourish. So we've been getting calls from parents stating things such as, may we have more resources, please? My child is wild. And so in that, and I'm echoing the scheduling part, because now these parents get an understanding of what goes on at work every day with these seeds. And it's like, yes, so when I called you, you know, and you sounded very lax, and, you know, you were like, oh, yes, I'll deal with it when he gets home. Now you are at home.
Dad, you're it.
Like, you're literally at home and you have to deal with it. And so, like, yeah, so we've had, like, literally about 3-4 parents call on the rail and say that they need some sort of resources, for the most part, like, essentially, like, TM type of circumstances, or some sort of support, which is getting them to focus. And so in that realm, like, they do need time to process. I've gotten reports in our leadership meetings that there are children logging on at 2 a.m. to Google Classroom. And I'm in elementary school. I'm not even in like a middle school or a high school with some of you guys. But I think it's half and half, right? So there's 2 of us are elementary and 2 of us are middle. So it's like, that's crazy. I got 3rd and 4th graders logging on at 2 in the morning. So the scheduling is like, it's unfortunate, but in the majority of the homes, there is no schedule, right? And so now the reaching out will only come when a parent becomes frustrated with the Chromebooks, or with something that the child isn't getting, that the parent's not getting, because a lot of stuff too, this progressive math, the way we have to teach. And like, yo, when I started sitting in on the meetings, yo, shouts out to the 3 of you, because you all been, you know, you're not new to this. I'm new to this the last 2 years. So like, sitting in on these like meetings, whether it's being a teacher or educator, or sitting in as a leader, a school leader, like, it's wild. Like, the information that you hear, and like the disparity in the numbers and percentages of like what students and backgrounds and everything that are successful, maybe successful, and then are just below average as far as when it comes to the education side. And then how many of our babies are on the IEPs, and like that process and that system, which is a whole nother world. But yes, so all those things go into like deciding what is a good schedule for our students. And something I wanted to suggest, and I'm all set, is I've been telling some parents and some people, like, yo, buddy up with your cousin, or buddy up with your sister, or your friend, or your child's classmates, and try to get together and work on the work together. You know what I'm saying? Like, get with somebody that's knowledgeable on how to use this technology in the system, so that you don't feel lost, or you don't feel, you know, falling, like taken aback from this process. So, peace.
I think, I mean, I can piggyback off of every one of you. I think the word that you're going to hear a lot, especially in this, is realistic. Especially when you work with kids that are in a high poverty level area, right? You're working with parents that are not academically able to even meet their kids halfway with third grade work, second grade work. And then you're throwing in technology. You're throwing in getting on Zoom. You're throwing in, go over there. You see what I do at 6 years old, right here. Go. So I think that as far as the whole schedule thing, yeah, it sounds cool. It sounds great. In a couple of hours, like you said, Tia, like as much as you can get out of them, that's great. But like Sharon said, we don't know what's going on in the homes. There are families that have abusive spouses in the homes. There are kids being abused in the homes. There's so many layers to it. So I think having a consistent schedule, yeah, it works for a lot of people, some people, whatever, but getting whatever you can done and trying to maintain a schedule that works for your household is all you can do. You especially think about those parents that have more than one of these, right? I have one. I got like that's it. Like I just have to make sure her work is done. I have families that are in my classroom that I've had multiple of their kids and siblings, and there's like I have one that has 7 kids, and it's from 2nd grade to 8th grade. So and they have 3 Chromebooks to share, and like what type of schedule, you know what I mean? So yeah, the 8th grader is on doing his work at 2 in the morning, and the 2nd grader is on at 7 in the morning. You know what I mean? Like it's what works for your household overall. Yes. So open up for it.
Hi.
I agree with everything. You guys nailed it on the head. I feel like because of this particular situation, it really is just putting all of those things that are going on in our community on like this platform. They've already been there. None of these issues,
been there, exactly.
You know what I'm saying, have just appeared with, you know, COVID-19. So it's like, it gives, although it's a situation that is, it's a hard one.
It is.
But I also feel like it's a situation that is a vacuum. It is a good situation to be able to look at the procedures and systems, that of the home, but also that of like our academic system, and overhaul it. Because in the idea of education, it's like, especially for our demographic of children, we got things to do. And sometimes we forget, like, okay, we have to like bring it back first and make sure that we're not, you know, moving too quickly, because if we're not dealing with what's going on holistically, if we're not dealing with our trauma, then it's always going to come up. And I feel like this was the first time in a long time where it's like really putting things into perspective.
And I absolutely agree. Candace and I went to the best charter school in the world, Boston Renaissance Charter School, okay? And we, you know, me personally—
Look at Cav.
First of all, Cav, relax. And second of all, Cav, stop distracting me with my nephew. I'm trying to be a professional. Thank you. Okay. But
listen, you know, I'm the greatest father of all time, so I gotta make sure my man's all right. He want to be in the meeting. I brought him to the meeting, but he's not cooperating.
Right, you're right. You know, we support working parents. We support working parents. But yeah, like I personally always felt very emotionally supported at the Renaissance. I feel like there were, from the teachers, especially our principal, Dr. Harris, you know, and he always made us feel safe above all. He always made us feel like we matter and our opinions matter, and it just matters. And that is so important that you said that, emotional intelligence, that factor. And I felt like, you know, on top of being surrounded by educators that looked like me as well, you know,
I'm gonna say that people don't realize how important that is. I didn't see anybody that looked like me, but maybe 1 year out of my whole school career. That's important.
It's so important, and it's so funny. Whenever you say to somebody I went to the Renaissance, they go, "Yeah, you look like a Renaissance kid. You act like a Renaissance." Literally all the time, and I'm like, "You're right."
Candace, look, Candace is over there snapping it up.
That's all. You can't get none of us in the group, though. You can't tell us anything, okay? That's we are going to move on to resolving conflict. So my son and I had a Diddy stare down the other day because I had to take away video games because he was a little bit too focused on video games and not trained, and he, just scattered brain. So, he got all upset, and, we kind of beefed a little bit, and it resulted in calling his father, and ultimately he went to his father's house. For the record, I did not say go to your father's house. He went by himself, okay? So, educators, how do we resolve conflict when it comes to school?
I just think that first you need to figure out the actual root of the problem. I think that in a lot of households right now, there's like a lot of root of frustration. I'm frustrated. I'm trapped in the house. I get to watch all my TV shows and do all that stuff, but I'm trapped in the house. I'm frustrated. So I think that if we're really unpacking with I call them scholars, with our scholars, what the root of the problem is, that's like major key. Secondly, I think you need to find opportunity in bridging that gap between I'm still your parent and I'm still here to love on you through this whole process. Because now, not only is the child processing, okay, you're my parent, okay, you're my teacher, okay, you're my disciplinarian, okay, you're my this. When they're at school, there's 20 million of those people that have different roles that they're playing in your scholar's life, But now all of that is configured into one person. So they're still having to figure that out too. So I think it's just a time to really, really give positive reinforcements. I believe in restorative justice practices, not just in school, just in life. So I think that that's like a good tool to use like in your house, It's not being so punitive, but being more conversational and figuring out, what does my student need at this very moment? I see some parents from my school on this call, and they know that's my style. I'm more of a, okay, this happened, so let's talk about it. Let's figure it out. Why did you do this, instead of, okay, you know what, you're getting suspended, go to your room, go to the dean's office, go to this. I want to talk to you and unpack with you what is actually going on, because I feel like that will cause, a release. It will cause, more togetherness, and it doesn't just serve as a Band-Aid. You can actually just push forward from that, experience. So there's my answer. Candace.
So I was going to say, when it comes to conflict, I believe in conflict. It just has to be healthy. So when it comes down to, like we were saying before, with exposing what's already going on in our homes, it's really a chance to kind of revamp everything. I believe in open and honest communication when it comes to education as well. Like, your kid, you know what I mean? It's like, academically speaking, our kids are resilient. I've had conferences in the past where they literally just look at me because their effort's not there. And it's not up to me as their teacher to like instill this like motivation. They have to kind of do that on their own. And the way that they can do it is that they see their mistakes. And sometimes it's important for families to say, it's okay for you to make a mistake. I know our families, just like some of our children, don't like to make mistakes, so they don't try. And a lot of our families are going through the same thing with our scholars.
I think it was it you, Candace, that said that, it might have been, I don't know, maybe it was Tia, I don't know. Either way, I'm gonna say that when it comes to conflict in the household, like you said, like, your child, a kid will act out, whether good or bad, for some type of attention for a reason. We're all going through this whole social distancing, staying in the house. There's different things going on in different households. Before this whole stimulus check thing happened, I had families that were on their last dollars. There were kids that weren't eating. A hungry child, no matter the age, will act out. You're not getting nothing done. I mean, I literally had a guidance counselor that would come in my room to check on a specific child because they would act out when they were hungry, to the point where I would bring peanut butter and jelly to the classroom with a loaf of bread. And when he had his snack, he was on fire. Like, on top of everything else that's going on with this whole social distancing and with families that are out of work, not receiving any money, any income coming in, there's a lot going on. And the last thing a parent is thinking about is, I got to get you to do this work and log on and do this and that. And I'm trying to maintain the bills in the house and make sure we have a roof over our, you know, it's so much to it. But when it comes to conflict, I would piggyback and just say, you just got to get down to the nitty gritty and find out what's going on in that moment. Because yesterday they might not have done their work because their stomach hurt. Today they might not be doing their work because they're hungry. Like it's going to be something different. But once you figure that out, I mean, you're golden, I guess. It's hard to say. Conflict happens though, and it's gonna happen. We have kids that have conflict in the building, so imagine what they're doing at home. Like that's their school is their outlet for most part, and they don't have that, so it's tough.
Everybody's hitting on the head. The only thing I can do is just maybe provide some comedic like material.
Well, you deal with conflict on a regular basis though. So
Yeah.
what would your advice be for a parent that has to make that adjustment at home and now, you know, become the disciplinarian in a different sense, you know, like Tia, like everybody was saying, restorative justice is kind of how I operate with Lithuanian. Like as far as training, no, he can't have things right now, but I told him, once you show me that you have done some research, that you have put effort into your training, you can have it back. You can have it back. You want that, but it's on your part. You know, I think that's very effective for me. But if something like that doesn't work, you know, what would your advice be? I mean, you don't have advice, but you know that having that conversation may be harder for some people. What is your advice for people that have trouble having that conversation?
Well, as was stated, like if there's like this acting out, if the conflict is from them acting out, like there's a reason. So you want to meet them either way, like on whatever perspective it is, you want to meet them where they're at. So one of the children whose mom called and said, you know, she needed support for him, I called him up and I was like, yo, what's going on? How you doing, bro? He's a second grader. He's like, good. I'm okay. You know, that's like how he talks. And so I'm like, well, check it. His mom's just standing there and I'm like, okay, so check it. Yo, bro, let me get a roar because this is what we do. He's a dinosaur, right? Last year in the first grade, he was a dinosaur. So because he was a dinosaur, whenever he was worked up, I said to him, this is what we're going to do. Is he in the middle of class? He would roar. He would just like roar in class. And so I took him in the hallway and I say, yo, Danny, his name's Danny. So I'm like, yo, Danny, this is what we're going to do. You're the last dinosaur, Danny the dinosaur. I said, every day, so we can get ready for the day, me and you are going to roar together. You know what I'm saying? And so we get one roar. So you got to make sure that all of the angst and the energy and everything you got going on is in that one roar. So on the phone conversation, I told him, let's do the roar. His mom didn't see it coming. So,
Jesus out of her.
And he let it loose. She was like, oh my God, what's wrong with you? What's wrong? I say, oh, mom, wait, he's good. It's what we do, Mom. I said, I know he's been on the one, you know. I said, this is what we do to get him to relax for the day and get his work done. Even though, like, that's not the whole day. Like, that roar lasts us a good 2 hours, like Tia reference. You know what I'm saying? Like, get that block, get as much as you can get, and then you better move on and figure something else out. Movement breaks, so on and so forth.
Brain breaks, movement breaks, incentives, your own incentives. This is you as a parent. You get to have your own incentives.
Yes. I was going to speaking to your point, Odell, is that, you know, setting the tone, you know, he knows. So there in schools, you know, all educators know, there are, you know, tons of people checking in on one student every day. So say they're in 8 classes a day. They have their principal, assistant principal, their dean, their counselor, their homeroom teacher, their English teacher, everybody checks on them and sets a tone for a specific block of the day for 45 minutes. You know, administrator's role, we do it in the morning, the middle, you know, we're in the cafeteria during lunch, and we're checking in. So sometimes it might be a good tool for parents and guardians to do a, you know, an informal and formalized check-in during the day. And not a check-in like, hey, did you do your work? Did you do your homework? No. Wake up in the morning during breakfast, how are you feeling? You know, what's up with you? How are you doing? How are you actually doing? You know, midday, you know, did you got your math? Tell me about it. You know, a little check-in to make them feel comfortable, you know, because not taking anything from a parent's role, but in all being realistic, we have your scholars for 8 hours of the day. We have them, you know, there are. So we're doing that thing. And like I said, now you're the person that's doing it, and they're now looking at you for that formalized and informalized check-ins throughout the day. And as I was about to call you your rap name.
It's cool.
As you were saying, you know, Danny looks for that check-in. He knows the roar. You know, my students know I give them the look, and it's time to check in. And they already know, okay, Ms. Lights is not playing with me. It's time to talk. Utilize, Candace, you're a dean, right?
Yes, I am.
Your support. You know, before we started this call, we were just talking as ladies, and everyone's saying, hey, we miss the kids so much. You know, my dean of students, we have a tiered system based on the demographics as we just listed before, where, okay, these people are prioritized check-ins every day. These are twice a week. These are this. But parents, feel free, reach out to those people that support your students on a daily basis. Candace has her hands up. Reach out to your deans. Reach out to your principals. Reach out to your administrators. Reach out to the people that do supplemental support for your students. It is very important. And guess what? You can... It's a time. If you want to email me on a one-off and say, hey, you know, little Johnny over here, he's just not listening to me at all. What are some strategies that you do in class? Hello, I'm going to hit you back. And it's on no shade. It's truly, I want to be teachers, deans, administrators, want to be allies to the parents during this time, even with everything going on, because we love your scholar as much as if they're our own.
And on top of that, Tia, I'm glad you said that, Tia. On top of that, me as a teacher, like, I tell my parents, if so-and-so is acting up, you know that whole thing where you have kids that'll go to school and be like, well, that's not what Ms. Glover said. That's not how she said it. Call me.
Yes.
I talk to my kids on the phone regularly. We Zoom every morning at 10 o'clock. I have 2 classes that I teach. They come in, we talk. We start off with, what did you have for breakfast? Or, like, they need that normalcy that, like you said, like, they see us every day. 8 hours a day, that's a lot. So they look for that. If just to hear my voice on the phone is gonna make you sit your behind down and do some work, if you need to send me because you don't understand something, I'm here.
Yeah.
Real. You know what I'm saying? Major pay footing that ass.
Thank you.
It's for real.
I want to go back to what Kalika was saying about being creative and figuring out incentives, because that's a great segue into our next topic, being creative and keeping students interested. So personally, I think in another life, I was a teacher because I love it. I've created essentially kind of like a home classroom for Canadian. But when it comes to electives, especially him being an athlete, I'm trying to get him more interested in other things. So he does have some, so I created electives. And some of them are related to, well, one of them is related to sports. It's called Mamba Mentality, and it's literally a curriculum I created from a Kobe Bryant article about his 7 keys to success. And he loves it. You know, he interacts with it, relates to it, and it comes with a video and a workout. So it's everything he loves. You know, we also do, I think he has, let me see, I'm looking at the white one, the mini whiteboards. Cooking, photography, content creation in the studio and on the air, which is delving into podcasting or being a content creator, because those are very real professions now, and that's something that he could be interested in. It could be a main hustle, could be a side hustle. So I want to make sure he kind of explores things. So my question to the panel is, how would you recommend utilizing the resources you have to make it more interesting? Like, I mean, I don't expect everybody to create a whole curriculum, but how do you keep it interesting? How do you keep the kids engaged at home?
So I think one of the things that's important is knowing your scholars' weaknesses and strengths. And time of day is really important. So whenever I was teaching, I would always make sure that whatever piece of curriculum my students were struggling with the most, that we would deal with that component in the AM right away. So if you're dealing with what is most difficult for your scholar at the beginning of the day, it leaves more room for reward at the end. So finding out those things that make your scholar tick, and then maybe trading out mornings. So like one morning we'll do math, because I know you hate it, and we'll bang it out and it'll be great. And then tomorrow we'll do whatever it is that you love to do, whether it's photography, video games, a dance off, etc. And then you just keep swapping so that they never have a chance to get like bored.
I know, piggybacking off of you, Candace, I know as far as I teach ELA, so half of my block is reading, the other half is writing, but I have two classes, so one class I see in the morning, the other class is in the afternoon. They switch and they go to math. But writing is something that kids are way better at in the morning. Getting a kid to write in the afternoon, after gym, after lunch, after all that, is not happening. So I literally went to my administrator and I switched it all around. And I made sure that at the beginning of each of my blocks, that was writing off the top. Like that's the first thing you're gonna do. But so that's going with their strengths and weaknesses. When it comes to at home, I mean, obviously they have the same subjects and work that they have to do. But like I said, brain breaks are huge. If you know what your kid is using in school, like for us, we use gonoodle.com. It's free. There's a bunch of videos on there that's dancing. There's I think they're called Too Fresh. It's a group of Black men that dance and have really like witty songs. And there's sing-alongs, like there's all types of things on Go Noodle, and it's literally like 3-4 minute videos, and it just gives them a minute to move. A lot of our kids just need to move. Sitting still and doing work is just, I mean, me as an adult, my ADD kicks in, and I was never even labeled with ADD. So
that's why you're a teacher. That's why
exactly,
you're a teacher.
right. So and then your own incentives, like you said, you know, your kid, like my daughter, kindergarten, like she's a beast when it comes to getting her work done. And at the end of each week, I'm like, hey, when we go to the store, go to get our groceries or wherever, like we make a stop, pick something that you want. Like you deserve it. Like it doesn't have to be anything over the top expensive. Just get something that works for them. But you have your own incentives. Oh, you want bath bombs? Like my daughter is bougie, all right? Bath bombs? Okay, you want a bath bomb tonight in the tub? Cool, it worked. Like whatever works for your kid.
I was gonna say, you know, I have to tie in my research some way to big up the Black educators. But through my research, the number one tool that I'm going to say educators in general, even though my research just focused on Black educators, is connectivity to the teacher, the leader, and the student, right?
Yep.
So with that, it just makes me think of, you know, if our students say they want to be a poet or they want to be a rapper, I'm neither a poet nor a rapper. I'm calling Uncle Ofats. Like, get this little FaceTime with my child for 20 minutes and
right.
the fundamentals of poetry and differentiation in language. And, you know, can you throw in something about Langston Hughes real quick? Because my child knows that you like that. And in the catalyst for them, they'll be able to get that information. Hey, my child, you know, Auntie Sharon, she loves basketball. I know nothing about that. Can you teach my child the fundamentals of the basketball court and the angles that are on the basketball court? Can you teach them that? So use your dope friends to teach your kids. Okay? Use your friends to teach your kids. You know, give them attainable role models that you can call in a heartbeat and do a 15-minute phone call. You know, if your teacher sends a lesson in Google Classroom, it's poetry month, right? It's poetry month for my students. I'm begging Oompa, can you please send a video to my kids? You know, when it comes from me, they're going to say, oh, this is Miss Light's trying to be corny. But if it comes from you, you know, they're going to see, okay, you're a known person in Boston that's doing this. They've seen you at my school before. So can you make this video and drop some knowledge on them, please? You know, so that's it. That's just a fun tactic you can do, is use your dope friends, use your dope networks to create positive learning experiences for your student outside of your wheelhouse, you know? Also, I love videos. People hate videos. I love videos. You know, you can kind of trick your kids sometimes. You know, like I said, I'm using the Harlem Renaissance example because that's what I'm teaching my kids this week. But you want them to learn about it, pick a cool YouTube video, pick about the next movie and point out those parts. Pick historical context, contextualized movies, you know, that you can watch as a family where they're learning and they do not even know it. You know, so to them, it looks like, hey, this is fun time we're doing as a family, eating popcorn, you know, kicking it. And, you know, try to think of those fun ways, you know, of that nature. This is a funny story. One of my students, she wrote me, and we love the baby. People don't think I love the baby. I do, you know, and we were talking about carrots in the baby's mouth. So I'm like, well, think about how many records he has to make to get that type of smile in his mouth, and then tell me, you know, configure for me some problems as to where, how many records does he have to sell to get each of those diamond teeth? How many diamonds are on those teeth, and what is the amount? So I'm trying to trick her into giving me some content, giving me some content knowledge. You know, I feel like when I went to college, it was very hard for me with the rigid teachers, but the teachers that could make the experiences for me come to life, it made me think about it. You know, when I was in 8th grade, my teacher told me I wasn't going to be anything. And when I went to college, it was, you know, you're going to learn and you're going to be great. And just having that positive reinforcement made me complete the journey and be who I am today. And all, you know, want to do is give back to the kids. So just create those experiences as a child who was a child that did not have the most positive elementary and middle school experiences.
We kind of touched on this a little bit, but if you guys have anything you want to reiterate, communicating with teachers during this time, do's and don'ts. I know you guys probably got a whole bunch of but yes, please enlighten us as educators. How can we make this for
I'm probably the worst person to ask about this because I'm a sucker when it comes to my parents and my kids. I looped with my kids this year, so I had them last year. I talk to my parents through text, email. You need to call me if the kids are acting up. Sometimes, I mean, whatever. So not all people are like that, and I do want to say that there are teachers that, you know, as teachers, we all deserve our own time, our me time, when, you know, when we can unplug and be our own human being self and mothers to our kids and all that. But I mean, like I said, for me, I'm probably the worst person at this because I'll answer anything, anytime, anywhere. Like, it was spring break and I literally had a parent break down this week and was like, the internet wasn't working, and I called her right back and I was like, don't worry about it. Like, it's spring break. Like, the work will get done. Like, I didn't put any due dates on anything. You get it done. As long as you get it done, you get it done. So I would say that all teachers are different. That's why it's really important to go to back to school night in the beginning of the year and get to know your kids' teachers and how they move. Not all teachers move the same. Some teachers at my school at 3:05, they out. I'm like, how are you leaving? You don't have anything to grade? Like, how? What? It's up to that individual person. I'm at school till 6 o'clock every day because I also do after school. So, and I coach. So I'm always available. I always make myself available. Like, I find that the more you make yourself available to parents, the more they trust you. And the more you're willing to make yourself available for parents, you're more than likely to make yourself available to their kids. And those kids are the ones that flourish. Those kids are the ones that have the parents that are the advocates for them. Those are the kids that, you know, whether you have a substitute in your classroom or not, you're going to know what went down in your classroom. Their work is done. And everything was smooth sailing when you come back the next day. Because if the kid doesn't tell you, the parent's going to tell you because the kid told the parent.
I think this speaks a lot to, like, what Kay was saying about establishing those relationships.
Yep.
So if you don't have a real relationship with your families and things come up like this, everything's exposed. Connection with families is everything. In all of my years of teaching, that's what I kind of like pride myself in, besides being like a warm demander. It's just my connection with my families, because it's like a triangle, right? It's like, if you mess up here, I'm gonna know, and if you mess up there, she's gonna know. I feel like because of the times, again, it's just really important to understand that we're human beings. If you have a parent who calls you and they say, you know, I really can't speak right now, or I just need a moment. You need to just give it to them. Like at the end of the day, it is what it is. I also feel like opening yourselves up to parents is important, but you also have to hold the line when it comes to like that balance, because you will have parents who are who are really having a hard time, but will manipulate you and making you feel like their kids can't do anything, and you've seen them, they're completely capable, but because of things that are going on already at home that have been, just established in the home, it's hard. So I would say just try to meet them where they are. As a teacher, if you feel like you're not doing your best, or if you feel like, they're just not responding to you, get an admin, that is their job. Like at the end of the day, is to to make those connections. But I would also say not to put too much pressure on our families when it comes to, this time that we're in.
I was going to say, as she said, utilize your admin. But my first piece of advice before that is I think that teachers, administrators, faculty of schools are very well aware that we don't expect you to know everything. You're the parent. That's our job, to be doing that in classroom, movement. So when you're asking for help or direction, be very explicit to your need. It doesn't matter if the email is 100 pages. You say exactly what you need. And then if you're not getting a response, you tag that school administrator right in. Okay, you tag them right in, or you can tag them in initially, because that is our job. I'm sifting through emails, seeing what we need. What is the access level like for our students and families? So be very clear, and don't shy away from saying, oh, I don't want the teacher or the school person to think that I don't know what's going on. It's like, no, it's okay. That's what we're here for. We're in a give and take situation. And at this particular time, all the time, we're all family. We're all family. We've been developed these relationships with our parents and our students. So we are one, My school mission is one school, one mission, and that's for the families included. All of us are on the same team. So how are we going to support each other? So really, really be explicit in what you need, and teachers, administrators, faculty will get back to you with that.
It's like a doctor-patient relationship, right? We can't diagnose the issue we can't help you if we don't know what you need help with.
Yes.
So if you just need a minute, if you just need, Johnny can't do his work right now. It'll probably get done at 5 tonight. Okay. We just need to know. Because if I'm not hearing from Johnny, I don't know if is Johnny okay? Is he
We've
home?
done that as teachers. That's what I mean. Right. It's like, if there's ever a time where a student is completely just overwhelmed with a piece of content, you're not going to force them to give you the answer. You know what I mean? You're going to work with them. You're going to, I'm going to check in with you. I'm going to speak to this person first, and I'll be back. It's the same thing we got to do with our families. It's just be patient and kind.
Yeah. Kind. And I don't think families should take offense. So I often hear sometimes my family say, well, I don't want to email the teacher after 9 o'clock. You didn't say text the teacher. You said email the teacher. So they're not going to get it probably till they wake up anyway. If you have a question, we have families with multiple students in the house. I think Kalika gave that example. They're all using the same laptop or the same computer. I have a family that has 5 students using one computer. One computer. So of course, you're going to email at 1, 2 in the morning, because that's the time that you're actually about to get rested and get ready for your next day. So families, don't be afraid to email your teacher, after quote unquote business hours, because guess what? The next day,
we still have families that are essential workers that are working at 2 in the morning and coming home at night, and vice versa, and their schedules are the complete opposite. Get it done when you can, but let us know if you need anything and what we can better assist you with. If you're not home and you send me a message like, so-and-so might be on the computer at this time. So like, if you get the message or the work at this time, this is why. Okay, that's fine. You know what I mean? Like, the more we know, the more we can help.
Ashe.
So our last subject is self-help tools and resources. So as far as the resources, some of our educators have provided some. If you do need all resources, I will email you the resources that these wonderful educators have provided me. But as far as self-help and tools that aren't virtual or digital, what do you guys got for us?
Music. And if you need to, sometimes you actually should make that playlist. You know what I'm saying? Or you should genre base your music, or energy base your music playlist, and do it like that. You know what I'm saying? Also, outside of that, like just a lot of holistic practices, taking that walk. I did a couple of my meetings for the different, sections that we utilize at our school. I did a few of them walking through Faulkner, or not Faulkner, but the Arboretum. And so it's like that works. And then lastly, just be patient. Just patience, yo. Patience is I'd say that's what's gotten me through the most. Like being patient and staying in my happiness.
I know someone said it in the chat. We're talking about the kids, but check in with yourself. Maintain yourself. Take that minute for yourself. Take a hot shower. Go for a walk. Like, do what you can for yourself. Because if you're not 100%, if you're not mentally there, you're not gonna be there for your child. Your fuse is gonna go from 0 to 10 real quick over the simplest thing. We laugh at that meme of the parent that's standing over the kid yelling, 2 + 2 is what, right? But what was going on with that parent before they got to that point? And it could be anything, but as adults, they need to see us maintain ourselves. They need to know that it's okay to unplug for a second. We need to take a breather. My daughter and I, we go for walks. We go outside. We kick the soccer ball around. You heard her come in here randomly and ask me to take a bath. That's her random thing. That's her thing. So, we could sit here and give you all these websites and all these cool tricks and tips to do with the kids, but you got to make sure you're good first.
I am just a very spiritual person, so I always say my prayers in the morning to try to ground myself. So whatever your faith is, give honor to that faith. Just in the morning, ground yourself. I'm a holistic person as well, so I'm doing all the Black girl meditations that they have online. I'm trying to get my namaste on. I have a whole prayer mantle that I use to just keep myself grounded. I put it in my resources, but I'm also a part of Sportsman's Tennis and Enrichment Center that does a social emotional wellness group. The female side is called Hey Sister, the male side is called Deuce, but we're collaborating them, and we do it online on Saturdays at noon. I put it in the resource center. I'm also doing, I'm very passionate about social emotional wellness of students. And so doing that for yourself as well, just being cognizant of what your social and emotional needs are. And, because if we're fired up during the day, we've all had a bad day. I'm sure I've come into my own school building and been so upset, like, oh, my class ain't right, this ain't right. I have to check myself at the door because I don't want to give that energy to my scholars. So I take a minute, I sit, I relax for 10 minutes, get my namaste. I'm an HBCU graduate. I probably listen to some trap music, and then I with the day. But, as my brother Ofats said, listening to that good foundational music that you just love, that absorbs your spirit.
I'm also a very spiritual person, so that's the first thing I do. I feel like it's also important to understand and realize that you may not know what to do, that this is like a really, really unprecedented time, right? So to think that everyone has all the answers is like completely, we're setting ourselves up, right? So I feel like at the end of the day, it's important to realize this is a lot. This is a lot. And then, as a family, as a team, as a tribe, that's what I call my friends, as a tribe, you have to make sure that you're really, really taking care of yourself. And being selfish. And I don't mean that in a negative way. Like sometimes you have to take time to actually make sure that you are ticking. And like, we were saying earlier, it's like you can't expect to be able to help other people if you're not helping yourself. And music, definitely music.
Mm-hmm.
And incense.
Yes. The wax melts, all of it. I had wax melts in my classroom, so my kids already knew what to expect when they walked in. So the house is the same thing.
Ambiance.
My students, I brought them crystals. Like I just introduced them to crystals, and like put them on with that, and they know they come in my office. They're having their moments. I'm just like, here. So, yeah, yo, Lawrence, peace and flourish to you too, Brody. I see you out there.
I also just wanted to say real quick, you know, we're being very PC, which is great. But, you know, I told my kids, do a TikTok with your family. Do a TikTok with your sisters. Do not do the Megan Thee Stallion Savage one. I do not like that one whatsoever. But there are some pretty great, you know, TikToks that they can do. You know, another cool one I've been seeing that I send to my friends that have children is the baby picture one, you know, doing the one where they're recreating a baby picture. And that could also be like a conversational tool in your household. It could be, you know, a morning, a do now. So we're going to create this picture and talk about the memories. It can be an exit ticket, you know, so about
I love that.
You know, I've been doing daily articles with LaDania, and they've been really good doing that.
Yeah.
Yes. You know, it's like we still have to configure the child's life too. They're into the social media at some degree. You know, they're into the TikTok, they're into all of those stuff. So even as their self-care, you know, what are some fun things that they
I
like?
love that. Oh, I just thought of another one.
Yes.
Like photo albums.
Yes.
Just go through them as a family, and
because sometimes these kids only see themselves on Instagram. Like we don't have old school photo albums anymore.
Yes.
Right. And I think somebody in here just said it too. Fafa said, "Get to know your kids."
Yes.
Get to know your kids. Quick story. I had a parent that works all the time. Like literally any message she would send me, like, "Ms. Glover, I have to work. I'm gonna be late picking so and so." Cool. But she has this time off right now. Her job gave it off, paid. And she said, my daughter has been up under me this whole time. She's like, I appreciate this time. Like, I am getting to know my daughter, and she likes the color pink, and she loves to dance and all type. Like, get to know your kids. I didn't know my daughter could throw a football better than me. I said, oh, okay. That's what we're doing.
And can I just say my last point in this topic too?
Go ahead, Tia, because you've been preaching, girl.
You know, I'm Frederick Douglass, female version. You know,
Frederica.
You know, one thing that we could do as I'm planning for, just in case we don't know, virtual graduation. When this new normal finishes, graduate your kids at your home, make them feel special, you know, make a little fake cap and gown for them and graduate with your kids. Like, yo, look what we did. We killed this. We got through this. Here's your, you know, degree. Here's your degree of excellence. Here's your, you know, graduate your kids and make them, because they will forever remember this time in history as something that affected them and impacted them for the rest of their life. I still remember 9/11. You know, thinking about I was a freshman in college, and I still think about
exactly where it was.
Yes. So, you know, it's like graduate with your kids. You do it with them. You know, thank the teachers. Graduate, like, thank you for pushing us through this online Google Classroom. Thank you. Graduate with them to add them into your Zoom ceremonies. You know, so just be proactive.
DJProductBeats.com.